I am live. Sorry, my hair is all crazy, guys. So I'm jumping on just for a second. I'm not going to be on long because I wasn't on here last Thursday. So, um, what have you been doing, Michael? I'm alive and I'm sober and I'm healthy, and I hope everybody else is out there. And that's where I'm at right now. Now, if you see behind me, let me see here. If I can show you. Actually, you can't see it as well, but here we go. There's the fireplace for now. There you go. And that's you see all this stuff above it here. That is all copper. Copper. Yes. I love copper. I love copper and its colors. Those are all chemicals on the copper that give it the greens and blues. I'm using copper chloride for that, and I'm using liver of sulfur for a lot of the darks that you're seeing in it. Let me see. This is going up there when I'm done. I think I showed this a while back, but this is the copper chloride in this, right? That's making up the blues and greens, and then the black is the liver of sulfur. Whoops, got a little bit of that on there. Anyway, I'm beating it up, and I'm gonna frame it eventually, get a frame, and then it will be one of the center pieces up on that. Anyway, there you go. Been playing with that. Been mixing paints, so that's why I'm a little crazy. Um, what else? Good afternoon, karaoke and the psych ward. So karaoke in the psych ward. You said you were going to be at the Mom Museum. I think Joanne was telling me you had said something like that. I was looking for you. Next time you're out, please let me know who you are if you want. If you want to remain anonymous, then you can. I just seen Rudy Rodriguez, my brother, down in Tomball or Odesso. Sorry, definitely not Tomball. Odesso is very far away from Tomball. No, Odesso, Texas. That's where Rudy's from. And Rudy is going to be coming out here because he comes up once in a while. This will be his third trip now coming to stay with me at my house. And he's going to be bringing his friend Freeland this time. And yeah, we're going to have a good time. I met Freeland when I was down last time I was in Tomball, Texas this past year here. Rudy drove all the way from Odessa. I think that's like a 9 or 12-hour drive. He and his buddy Freeland, and they came down. I got to meet him, and he's a wonderful guy. But they're coming out on Halloween this year, and I'm looking forward to that. Rudy, I'm getting the grill that Rudy built for me. Took him years. He built this, I call it the Beast. One day I'll go outside and show you this thing. In my backyard, when Rudy somehow got it into my backyard, because Rudy he rented a U-Haul, put this heavy barbecue grill that he built for me. For years, he built this thing. And I think it probably weighs, I'm assuming, a ton or close to it. And somehow he got it from Odessa, Texas, all the way out here to my house. He just like, yeah, you want me to drive it up? I'm like, okay, you can stay at my house. I wasn't thinking he was going to really do this. And he did. And then when he arrived that night, I didn't know I saw it. He opened it up, the truck for me to see it. I was like, uh-oh, okay, I don't know how this is going to work. Before I woke up the next morning, he and his nephew had this thing in my backyard. They had to take down my gate. I don't know how they got it back there. And this thing looks like a freight train when the sun is coming up in the east and it's sitting and it's coming up in the back. You can see the silhouette of this thing, and it looks like a steam engine just sit in my backyard, and it has wheels on it like a steam engine, but it weighs like a steam engine. You even with the wheels on this thing, I don't know how he got it back here because you can't even roll it. I don't know how he did it. And so Rudy's coming out on the 30th. I got to get that grill. Um, well, I've been using it like crazy. I say clean it up. I'm gonna dust it off because this thing you don't want to do too much. I mean, I want the seasoning in it, and I don't use it as much as I should. It is a beast. This thing is huge. Anyway, hey Rudy. Let's see. We there's Renee, I see Carol. Thank you guys. Yeah. What else? I started getting into some sacred geometry a little bit, which is fun. Joanne thought that I should share this. I don't know. This is just one of the many things that I'm into. Sacred geometries. Draw circles, put them together, and draw lines between the center points of all the circles, and you come up with things that look like that, right? So now you could see within that there are many shapes going on, all right? And then there are many. I could see the Star of David in it. Even you could see where these become sacred shapes. Yeah. Who knows what I'll do with it? I've always liked it. I even kind of put some of that on one of my albums I did for fun. And that's the one, um, what did we call it? The Decoded or something. The album is called or promoted as, but it's really the name of the album is is hidden. You have to figure it out. There's a code, and I'm using sacred geometry and things like that and into it. So if you can figure it out, good for you. There was only one person that figured it out that I know of, and she said it took her a few weeks, and she said her son one day pointed it out to her that she'd figured it out without her even knowing. She had wrote it out and didn't realize because it was all looked like one big word, so she didn't realize it was actually saying something. There's a hint for you. It's not just one word. Um, the name of the album, anyway. But that album I did. I didn't produce it. That was something Bill Medley of the Righteous Brothers, who is my dear friend and mentor. He wrote the songs and he produced those tracks. And Bill likes to write stuff and go into the studio and just record. He's always doing that. And he I guess sort of wrote the songs in favor of me and thinking of me. And so I recorded them with him, or he produced them. And that was, didn't know what to do. He just kind of said, well, you can do what you want with them. And there were only a few songs. So I just said, well, I'll put them on an album and I'll name it something in honor of Bill Medley, but I did it in a code. So there's another hint for you. All right. I don't think that hint will help you much that I did it in honor of Bill, but it might, for the name and title of it is in honor of him. It might help you, but figure out the code and see if you can. I did make it a little difficult, by the way. I'm not a real, I guess to some people, that deep. I'm not shallow, that's for sure, when it comes to thinking about things. I use symbols and I like to do codes. I'm very much into codes and stuff of different sorts. And um, yeah, I like that. In ancient writings, they use codes, and that fascinates me, those things. So I'll use them in my art pieces, whether that be music, the art that goes into the music, uh, the visual art, even the audio. Um, there are secrets hidden in the songs that I write. Um, that I solely write myself, that I don't collaborate with others on. I have a couple of them. I like to hide things in there that only I know. And on those particular ones, I don't think anyone has ever picked them out or pointed out the things that I hide. It's not really that purposeful, but if I see something I'm trying to say passing in a word, I'll typically, that's where I'll hide it within a word. Um, in coding, I do different approaches, by the way. I, you know, there are many ways to code, and you can invent your own ways of doing it. Um, I don't go as far as creating any language that someone has to then learn. I use numbers typically, and here's another hint for you, I'll use symbols to represent numbers. There you go. That's all I'm going to say on that. Let's see. That's about it. That's all I really want to say. I'm trying to make some cartouches. I'm doing it traditionally. That's fun, which is I'm laying them on copper sheets and I'm doing it with clay and plaster and then laying that with resin, as the cement or glue to adhere things. Yeah, probably not as durable, but I don't know. Then again, it's the Egyptian way. Those things lasted a long time. Not always, but let's see. Carol. It's funny. I'm looking at a name right here. I have written down Caroline. You see how I wrote it out in the IPA? This is a rough. I'm just doing this because my neighbor. Don't tell my neighbor, but I'm making a cartouche anyway. But that's how I would say her name, right? And that's how the phonetic sound would be of what you're seeing. It's ka ru rin or rin. The Y would be not an, it wouldn't be pronounced I, it would be pronounced E. So you go, and that thing that looks like an E is an ah. That's the way that sounds. Ah on the IPA. So it would be karurine. And why not an L? Well, they don't have L's in Egyptian. And so that's how they would do it. They would take an R, which is what that guy is right here. Actually, both of these are R's. That one right here, that lion makes the sound ru. Like an IPA, that would be an R and a W or an R and a U, a ru. And then we have another R that just makes a single R sound, not a ru sound. It makes a R or a But in this case, it's taken the place of an L, much like in Asian languages, they don't have L's, and they'll use an R in place of an L to make that sound. So did the Egyptians, turns out, and they did. They actually did. One of the things you can look up that validates what I'm talking about is a thing called the Merneptah Stela, which Merneptah was the son of Ramses the Great, Ramses II, right? So Merneptah was a pharaoh, and he created a stela called a victory stela in stone. And in this stela, he actually says the word Israel, but being it in Egyptian, he writes it Isra or Isri R. Why would you go R? Well, it's because of the L. Or it's yes, it's with a ya or a yes, just the way the Hebrew says it. Yes, re R, and it would be yes, re L is what they're trying to say. Anywho, there you go. Caroline or Carol, that's a form of your. And what would that mean? What I'm trying to do is just in that case get the phonetic sound out. So that just means the phonetic sound. with the symbols that represent those phonetic sounds. Yeah, okay. What else crazy am I doing? I'm doing a lot of crazy thinking. That's the way my brain works. Um, and there's other things going on in my mind that I shouldn't speak of. We'll be in an institution if so. Let me see. Yes, Carol, I have lost some weight, and it is on purpose because I was very much out of shape. So I'm on a healthy diet of low carbs. That's it. But my body has always been high metabolism. And when I was drinking through the years, let's say 2013 until 2023, I was gaining weight due to alcohol, really. I know it is because the moment that I don't drink anymore, it goes, all that sugar and alcohol really does. And I'm going to tell you, like, for a long time when I was drinking, I wasn't eating much either because I was trying to counteract that a bit by not eating to add on more weight. And it still didn't work. That alcohol really, really helps retain weight in form of, I guess, fat and fluid because I was very swollen in a lot of cases. Uh, so yeah, no, I feel much better, and yes, I am skinny, but I'm just back to the weight I was back in my 30, back not my 30s, but right there before my 30s, in my 20s. I know that's some people go, well, that's not normal, but if you look at my dad is the same way. We have high metabolisms. My dad, I think he's even skinnier than me, but he doesn't look unhealthy. He looks very healthy. Um, no, I just have that same high metabolism as well. Let's see. I see Carol says her downfall is potatoes, butter, and bread. Um, yeah, well, that could be. That's what I'm doing. I'm like, I don't do the breads. The butters, I love butter. I don't do the breads. Knock those out, and pastas and rice. It's not to say I won't eat them, but it just don't. It's not on the top of my list of things. It's too heavy. So heavy carbs. I just lower the carbs. Not. I can't completely quit the carbs. I went on that keto diet for as long as I could. I think I barely made it into like 3 weeks at best, which is pretty good. And my body was freaking out, and it was really, my wife's going, no, it's okay. Your body is supposed to be doing this. And I'm like, really? It's supposed to feel like I'm having like a diabetic shock or something. It's weird. The way I was feeling, my body felt weird and mentally foggy. So that was the keto. I'm not putting the keto down. I'm just saying that I needed carbs and I was starving for them. Um, I didn't get past that hump that a lot of people talk about. You got to get past on the keto diet. No, I wasn't really abiding fully by it because even though I wasn't taking in food carbs, I was definitely getting it through the alcohol when I would have that. So there's that when I was drinking. My downfall on the weight and downfall on every other end of life has been the alcohol. So as far as weight goes, I have more control of my weight now, without a doubt. I was trying to get control of it for the 10 years of drinking, but it wasn't like I was really fighting hard to do so, but there was some effort put behind, you know, how do you keep drinking and not gain weight is what I was trying to do. And I was doing the liquid diet thing towards the end, which almost really killed me. It wasn't for that reason that I was doing that, but I still did it, and it still didn't work. I was still gaining weight. Anyway, Carol, you say that potato salad in the summer. Hmm. Um, yeah, potato salad in the summer. But I have to ask you, Carol. See, you're from Canada. I must imagine that this potato salad is a mayonnaise based potato salad. See, I'm from the South. I'm assuming this is a squirrel. That's not a logical thing to assume, but I'm assuming this. It's mayonnaise based. I'm from the South, and we have this big debate in the South about potato salads. I grew up on a mustard based potato salad. Um, and that comes from a Southern soul food uh, background in some ways. But it's a funny debate or argument when it's brought up. Which is the better, the mayonnaise base or the mustard base? I go for the mustard myself. Um, okay, I see. So you do. So she says mashed potatoes, Miracle Whip, radishes, cucumbers, onions, and celery. Miracle Whip. Okay, and radishes. Okay, can I tell you what I think a radish tastes like to me? If somebody were to take and try not to take offense to this, but if somebody were to able to solidify and materialize a fart and eat it crunchy, that's what a radish is like to me. I'm not, it's like maybe you like your own flavor or something. If you do that, I don't know. I had this weird aftertaste from radishes, and they just remind me of a fart. so so sorry. But that's interesting. And then Miracle Whip, cucumbers and onions. Cucumbers and onion. I like the cucumbers, onions, and celery and eggs. But with that combination, I would do, but it's according to how you like it, right? I do more of a mustard. I've never done Miracle with it, but that's interesting. Why not? Why not? Is that a Canadian way of doing potato salads? I'm curious. I don't know. I've never heard of that. But that sounds like a good combination. And you say, I think so. And I'm sure you're replying to what I'm saying. Anyway, well, it's always good to talk about food. Food. It's something else, man. I had somebody offend me one time very deep. You can get offended. If you ever get offended, at least me, if you ever want to really offend me, I don't try to get offended and I don't look for it. But I noticed I get offended by insulting food. And I didn't make this particular food that I got insulted by, but I was on tour at the time, and I was in Mississippi, and I was on a bus, and my family, uh, my cousin brought me some gumbo, and the way I like her making it, always growing up, Renee, um, and I remember telling, I'm not going to name names past this, but there was somebody that was on tour with me that wasn't part of my band that put it down. And I realized at that time, he's like, I'm not going to eat that, I'm not going to tell you what this person said because it might give you some inklings as to who this was. But it really offended me. I said, you're not even going to try it. Huh? No, no. They're really arrogant. Like, I didn't even make it, but if I would have made that and that person said that to me, I started thinking to myself, man, that would have been hard for me not to give that person an ink job on their outfit with the food. I mean, like that would be. I'm sorry no, I wouldn't throw the food at them. That would be a waste. But It's like, man, that was really offensive. You can get offended by food. So that's why I don't want to offend anyone when it comes to food. I definitely get offended. I know how that can be. Food. Yeah, he offended me. Offended me for my gumbo or my family's way of cooking gumbo, and didn't even try it. Hmm. To make a gumbo, um, you got to start with a roux. You got to know how to make a roux, and it's real simple, but you got to put the time behind it for a good roux, and that's browning your flour. And there's different methods, but the traditional way is to brown it on a skillet. That means you cannot move. You got to keep turning and moving that flour to brown it. And the moment you burn it, you throw it away. But that's your base for your roux. What happens past that point is geographical, okay, on the Gulf Coast where gumbo is from. It's not just concentrated to New Orleans. It goes all the way from Texas all the way down to Florida. Different styles of gumbo because it come up through the Caribbeans. That's why it's not solely owned by New Orleans, but being that New Orleans has a strong Creole influence, which is the Caribbeans and what brought that dish out there. The basis of it was that, and then they would use something like a ground sassafras, which I hear is illegal. I don't know if it is today or not. I think years ago I read something on sassafras has maybe hallucin makes you hallucinate or something. I don't remember, which is why it's illegal. Or it may kill you. I don't remember. And then sometimes these things you read aren't real. So this was a while back. But they would use sassafras in it also, I know, which was part of what they called filet gumbo. It was part of that mixture that went into that. Regionally, where you can do a chicken gumbo. I'm gonna go Bubba Gump on you here. There's so many ways you can make uh, gumbos, from chicken to seafood gumbos, and the variant ways of seafood gumbos. I've had gumbo with turtle and alligator and even frog leg. That's a real Cajun style gumbo. Um, Man, yeah, but it varies. And when you go down south, don't expect it to be the same. Some are more tomato based, and some don't use tomatoes at all for the roux. You know, yeah, interesting stuff to get into. The gumbos, different gumbos, and then once you leave the United States and go into the Caribbeans, I'm sure the styles of gumbos then venture into the more traditional styles of where they come from. And I'm sure that if you do any further research, it would probably originate somewhere from Africa, coming out of there, as a lot of that channeled through the Caribbeans, through the Haitians and the belief of voodoo and that whole thing that traveled through there that wound up in New Orleans, but it all came through the islands, and came originally out of Africa. A lot of really cool stuff, like, man, that flavors, all those flavors, man. When you talk about food out of New Orleans, you gotta show some credit to the Caribbeans for that. And that was that French side of that. And then you got the Canadian French, by the way, Carol. Then your Canadian French came down from Acadia, or I think that's the name of it, right? Acadia. And then that's how they became the Acadian or Acajuns or Cajuns. They brought that's that French. And then we have the French there too, like the French speaking French. And they can't understand the Cajuns. The Cajuns can understand the French, but the French can't understand the Cajuns. It's interesting. At least that's what I hear. I don't know. Anyway, love you guys. I'm going to get off of here so I can finish up on this guy so I can get that hung. Lucy is wanting to put some Halloween decorations up, so we're getting ready for the holidays. And I'll see you next Thursday. Until then, hasta la vista, baby. Had to go there. All right. See you guys. Love you. Thank you.